Okay, now, this is the first episode of what I'd like to turn into some sort of long-running series. Now, on this series, I'm going to be reviewing books. Now, right off, I need to start with something honest, and that is, I'm not really much of a book reader. I don't think anybody in Middle America is. Middle, but meaning middle class. I'm really lower middle class. So, and yeah, I'll edit this, the pauses out eventually. Oh, and I really, I really want to review movies and games, but I don't really have the software, and I can't find any software that would be appropriate or that would not put viruses on my computer online. So, from now until the point that I actually get the kind of software I need to review movies and make better videos, this is what you're going to get. And so, without further ado, the first book on the list is The Waves of Atlantis by Dr. Maxine Asher. Now, she is... She seems to be quite a large woman, as you can see it right here. And I haven't actually read this entire book. I've started and I figured, hey, why not? There are no reviews on YouTube or anywhere else I can see except text reviews, and no one's actually tackled the entire book before, and I figured if no one else, then why not me? And I won a few spelling bees in grade school, I think, so I'm a pretty good speller, so I'll notice any grammar problems too. Now, since this is the first video of the book, I'm going to dedicate each video to one chapter, so it's going to be about 1 or 2 videos per chapter, depending on how long the chapters are and whether or not I can get through it without bashing my head against the wall. Okay, apparently we have 12 chapters. Ooh, and a research brief. This piece of shit actually has a non-fiction section. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Okay, chapter 1. What a bust. Now, that's a lovely opening paragraph, by the way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most of you have seen the Amazing Atheist video about the Waves of Atlantis book, and it covers the first page. So I won't retread his territory for fear of reprisal. Well, I'm not sure he even cares about that video, but still. YouTube's kind of hateful when it comes to re-uploading the same content, so I'm not going to cover the first page. But what we have to get is one person is named Pierre. And I'll pick up where he left off. As the crew continued to sit around on the floor of the spacecraft looking dejected, Jane threw a sly smile at Tom, unaware that the rest of the men caught her and began to snicker. Jane and Tom thought they could hide their romantic relationship from the crew, but the men were on to them. Now, why the hell is that in quotations? Is it supposed to be coy or funny, or is it supposed to brag about how intelligent this author is? I doubt that. It's not very well written. Because, see, on to them. Where are you? Right there. On to them. In quotes. It's unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. The 6 male and 1 female astronauts had been handpicked by Mission Control for the Atlantis flight because it was believed that their psychic abilities were more highly developed than other candidates. 6 male and 1 female astronauts? I'm not sure if that's good grammar to Well, yeah, it is. 6 male, 1 female, but why not just say 6 astronauts? It would have been easy for us to spot the single female named Jane that we've already been smacked in the head has been in a relationship with one of the other astronauts. And what the hell? Psychic abilities were more highly developed than other candidates? Are astronauts usually psychic or something? Do people who apply to be an astronaut are psychic? Help me out, people. This is weird. And believe me, this hasn't even gotten close to being its weirdest, because I've already read the first chapter. And onward. They had gone through a series of rigid sensory tests and were believed to be the perfect people for the job. Jane was extremely sensitive, and she had recommended that more women be put aboard the craft because women had a special built-in antenna to discern unusual wave frequencies. Now what the hell? This is getting into pseudo-science territory. Jesus Christ. Women are more psychically inclined. Oh my goodness. There are usually more women mediums, so that must be where this author is getting that shit. The uncovering of ELF waves. Oh, and it defines ELF waves in case you're too stupid to know what it is. Extra low frequency waves. Yeah, real helpful. We couldn't have possibly figured that out on our own. It was the unusual task of this Atlantis crew, and everyone understood the seriousness of the assignment. Planet Earth had... yeah. Earth is capitalized. Let's see how long that stays consistent, shall we? Planet Earth has been plagued for at least 5 years by ELF waves, generated by a power, force, or group of men, woo, spooky, bent on conquering the countries which lay on the borderlands of the Atlantic Ocean. Florida was already in grave danger. New York was heavily bombarded, and Maine was beginning to succumb to the forces. Oh, God. Misspelling already. Succumb. It's spelled, in this book, S-U-C-C-O-M-B. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that succumb has 2 U's and no O. So it would be S-U-C-C-U-M-B. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another way to spell it. But from what I remember from reading the dictionary when I was bored out of my mind, it seems to have 2 U's and no O. Massachusetts was not far behind. And what the hell is with this newscaster tone? It sounds like the author's playing this news broadcast on her TV and just replacing some of the words with bullshit she makes up just to fit this fucking book. ELF waves made people nervous and uneasy. The waves transmitted subliminally. It was believed. Oh my God. It was believed. Now, it's easy to tell if someone's being psychologically tortured. Now, if it's just believed that, then... what? Also caused flu-like symptoms, vulnerability to the will of others. So ELF waves can make you, can do some sort of mind control bullshit? What the hell? Absenteeism on the job and psychological problems. Absenteeism on the job? What the hell? I've seen people come to work as train wrecks, absolute train wrecks. And sometimes they're scared or paranoid, or they still come to work because they have to work. It's required by your fucking boss, or you'll be fired. This is a right-to-work state in Arizona. You can be fired for any particular reason. No pink slip required. They were even believed to be responsible for the breakup of relationships, marriages, and families. Oh my goodness. Now, let's see how much crap ELF waves can do to you, huh? In short, ELF waves were a scourge to the planet. Oh, you're done now? What the hell? Seriously affecting the well-being of the United States and other countries around the globe. Well, around the Atlantic Ocean, as you specified before, but who cares about consistency? Thousands of people had already fled inland, believing they could escape the plague. And plague is in quotations again. None could. The only promising part of the ELF waves was their ability to create, primarily in children, a heightened sense of awareness and increased productivity, including highly original thoughts. What, so children weren't able to have original thoughts before? I've seen some kids make with wild imaginations, absolutely wild. They can draw a picture of a large line in a weird pattern and call it a dog or a fire truck. They have wild imaginations, and that indicates original thoughts. However, this positive factor was hardly compensation in the light of the damage ELF had already done. Oh, ELF now, not the ELF waves anymore. Is ELF supposed to be some sort of company now or something? Well, it can't be it because it would still have the. And from here on, in this chapter, ELF waves has been shortened to ELF on most of it. Across the ocean, Spain, Portugal, England, and Ireland were experiencing the same phenomenon, but to a lesser extent than in the USA. USA? Who says USA anymore? The greatest impact of ELF was observed in the North American population. Ironically, few people were convinced about the probable cause of the plague. Ironically. What? People use the word ironic so often that it's almost completely lost its meaning. And I hardly even know what ironic means anymore. I think it has something to do with some sort of contradiction between logic and reality. Maybe I'm right on the money, maybe I'm not, but few people were convinced about the probable cause of the plague. That's normal. That's kind of logical too. No, when people don't know what's happening to them, they usually don't know where it's coming from or why it's happening to them. It's pretty much that. It's pretty much that simple. Everyone discussed the possibility of a virus or even tainted water or germ warfare. Germ warfare? Seriously? The average citizen could not comprehend what certain members of the government already knew, that the problem was coming from ELF waves. Oh, it's ELF waves again. Cool. The task of identifying and eradicating ELF, oh, now it's ELF again, really consistent, fell to the Supranational Council, who convened for many emergency sessions until it was decided that the Atlantis space shuttle would explore outer space in search of the waves. Why? Why would you go into outer space to look for the waves? Earth is pretty damn big already, and that kind of makes it... And going into outer space to search for the source of something like this is making the huge assumption that there's some sort of life or sentient being out there that that mainstream science has not acknowledged yet, or even ever. And I don't think it ever will. And what the hell is a supranational council? Supranational. Now, is that some sort of extra governmental agency, or... Because this is obviously bullshit. There's no such thing here on planet Earth. And Jesus Christ, you have to accept so much in this book. Months of screening and training took place until the mission could be organized and the training completed. And now, with millions of lives at stake, the astronauts had come up with nothing, not even a clue regarding where ELF waves originated. Well, if they've come up with nothing, then why are they looking in fucking outer space? The Atlantis crew was multinational. Franco... Oh, now we're listing names, huh? Franco hailed from Spain and Pierre from France. A real original. Pierre. Ooh, what a stereotypical name, yes. And Franco from Spain? Why not make Franco from France? It's even more absurd. Walter represented Australia, and Arthur comes from London. Oh, obviously Arthur's from London. Yeah, you know, King Arthur? Yeah, he was a badass. Only Jane, Tom, and Rich from the USA. Wow. There's a 3-to-1 odds of the United States to other countries. Is this mainly backed by the United States? Is this, well, if that's the case, then why is a supranational council in charge of this thing? Yet all the astronauts had one thing in common, a burning desire to discover the origin of the ELF waves and the nature of the people who were generating them. Jane and Tom had been enormously relieved to learn that they were selected to go on the ELF mission together. They had known each for 4 years, having trained together as astronauts and later working at Houston on a number of joint projects. Oh cool, we've got backstory now. Though both were married, they were scrupulously careful to hide their personal and romantic relationships. Both astronauts knew full well that they would immediately lose their positions with the space agency if the truth about their liaison was known. Why? Is it some sort of rule or policy within the secret space agency that employees aren't supposed to be married? Jesus Christ. I get it if they were competing agencies, but this is one single corporation. Why? Why is romantic relationship forbidden? It just doesn't make any sense. The problem was that everybody knew about the relationship anyway. Well, if everybody knows about it, then why haven't they been fired? Even their marital partners were suspicious. But since there was no proof, no action had been taken by the authorities or by their respective spouses. Wait, whose marital partners? And why is there no proof if everybody knows about this? They should be picking up on the signs that around the office, like extra glances or firm pats on the butt or something. Maybe even hugs or kisses. I'm not sure, but why, if everyone is so aware of this relationship, would there be no proof of it? Finally, on a murky summer dawn, the Atlantis spacecraft moved closer to the landing base in California. The astronauts continued to grumble about their inability to find the ELF waves. They knew that their own jobs were at stake because of the complete failure of the mission. The mission hasn't even started. What's so failing about it? In fact, they were more concerned about that problem than their actual inability to gain information about the waves. Frankly speaking, now we're just being frank now. There's been none of that in the past 4 pages, no. Most of the men thought that the mission was absurd, but too far removed from their own reality systems. What? This seems to be a pretty strong reality for the rest of the world, yet these people just can't comprehend that the rest of the world is being affected by it. Even though they had outwardly pledged fidelity to the case, their inbred skepticism was well ingrained. Skepticism to what? ELF waves? Yeah, that's so far out there. That's not even scientific. That's just bullshit like ghosts or goblins or unicorns, you know? ELF waves. That's like a fairy tale. Jane was aware that the men's attitudes were part of the problem. They did not have the right mindset because they simply did not understand the issues at stake. What issues? And why are they at stake? Intellectually, they were aware of what the waves could do, but since they didn't believe such waves actually existed or could be broadcast into large populations, they weakened their own abilities to discern these strange forces. why is... Oh, fuck it, I already asked that kind of question. The only person who really understood and felt... Oh, now we're putting the word felt in quotations. Haven't had that in the past 2 pages. The waves was Jane. She was the perfect subliminal subject for such an assignment. What, she's unwilling of what she's doing? She doesn't know that she has this assignment? What's going on? Ever since her childhood, Jane had felt, seen, smelled, and heard things that other people barely perceived. In fact, there were times when Jane's perception of strange waves actually made her feel spaced out. Another quotation. Ooh, we're getting excited. Spaced out is in quotes. Now that was exactly how she felt now as the spacecraft moved through the atmosphere. Her feelings had nothing to do with the height of the craft. Jane's perceptual apparatus was exceptionally sensitive and finely tuned. What's a perceptual apparatus? Please, answer me. Her feelings had nothing to do with the height of the craft. Height? I think this book means... I think the author means altitude, or level, or something like that. But not height. It would imply that the craft has some sort of large, vast height. Like, I'm about 5'11", that's my height. You don't say that when you're hovering 4 feet off the ground that you're 4 feet high. Or maybe you do. I'm not... Oh, fuck it. Like an animal, there was little she failed to pick up. Oh, she's an animal, yes. Some of her sensations were purely generated by the force of ELF waves. Are we sure this author isn't a lesbian? Some of her sensations were purely generated by the force of the ELF waves. Ooh. Yet she constantly fought this energy because she instinctively knew that the waves were directed at the Atlantis space shuttle in an effort to destroy the mission. What? How can this group of people know about this mission? I've already read this first chapter, and it seems to imply that the waves are coming from Atlantis, hence the title of the book. And why would Atlantis be so intent on stopping this mission if they're trying to alert the population to their presence? That's kind of what they're doing right now. Jane had sensed from the outset that something was wrong. She had been uneasy throughout the flight. Oh yes, redundant sentences. These 2 sentences basically say the same thing. Tom picked her up, but that was natural. Picked her up from what? You mean from work, or you picked up on her unease? It doesn't say. The 2 lovers always had a telepathic connection and had read each other's minds for years. Oh, that's very lovely. You didn't think to mention that maybe a few pages ago? No, I didn't think so. It's not important, you know. Mind reading can be dangerous for Jane, but for Jane and Tom, it served to cement their relationship. Of course mind reading can be dangerous. I've actually sometimes had some paranoia about my mind being read because people seem to respond to my mental thoughts. So I just try to think of the nastiest thoughts, like porn or something, or even something horrifying, like the things that scared me the most. And that was how I got out of my paranoia, because nothing ever reacted to what I was thinking. Anyway, moving on. As the crew rustled about the craft impatiently, Jane threw a sidelong glance at Tom. Oh, again! Lovely. We're back at the fucking first page. On page 6, no less. So, about 4 pages have been just meandering to get back to what we were doing. On the first page, lovely. He wanted to run over, throw his arms around her, until he understood her uneasiness, but he dared not do so. Just as he was about to reassure her that all was well, Pierre turned beet red and screamed out, "Something is going wrong with our controls! I am going to call Houston. The craft is heading downward. I can't tell what's wrong." Now, who the hell talks like that? I am going to call Houston. You usually say, I'm gonna call Houston. And the craft's heading downward. Tom blanched white. As he rushed to the control panel, he fell backward and the shell took a decidedly angular thrust. Yeah, this is where the plot really gets going. There appeared to be no way to stop its erratic movements. Atlantis was falling rapidly. You know, the space shuttle Atlantis, not the actual place, you know. Yeah. To make matters worse, Houston was not answering. The shuttle was now skimming over the Caribbean, completely in reverse of its previous course toward California. Wait, they're going in space to go back to California? What?! Florida was clearly in view. Looking at the instruments, it was apparent that Atlantis was within 2 miles of descending into the ocean. In a state of hysteria, Rich yelled, "Duck down! Convert the craft! We're going under!" Fortunately, the shuttle was equipped to double as a submarine. Oh, of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? It was a safeguard built in as a hedge against unforeseen events or perilous circumstances, in case the shuttle accidentally crashed over water. Okay. Water on Earth? I assume this was part of a space mission to go into outer space to find the source of the ELF waves, but no, they're apparently going to fucking California. After only 2 minutes from the onset of the warning light, Atlantis sank swiftly, hit the bottom with a thud. The crew was startled, shaken up and stunned. So much exposition. Oh my god. Ugh, how can I ever get through this whole book? They stared at each other in disbelief. Jane and Tom were huddled together on the floor, holding each other tightly and shaking with fear. This time no one seemed to care that they were in each other's arms. And there is no apostrophe after the word others. There should be. The other crew members were glad enough just to be alive. Back at Houston, the operating staff knew that Atlantis was either descending or had descended, but there was no clue as to the location of the crash. What? You knew that it had somehow landed, but you didn't think to look in the place where you lost contact with it? You didn't even assume anything? Nope. Okay. NASA was baffled. Oh, it's NASA now. It's the first mention of NASA. Good job, people. I applaud you. The Atlantis had disappeared completely into the ethers. Ethers? What's an ether? I thought that was like some sort of cure for some ancient ailment. Not a fucking word for water. The astronauts had lost all communication with Central Control. Oh, now it's Central Control. I thought it was some sort. I thought it was called Command Control or something like that. But nope, Central Control. In fact, they were disbelieving when they realized the craft was submerged deep below the Caribbean Sea. Well, of course, they knew it was the Caribbean because it's so easy to tell. God damn, I hate this. Most of the crew members were stretched across the cabin floor, dazed and confused. Jane was the first one to stand up. Wait, I thought they were sitting. Ugh, oh god, inconsistency on the same page. Looking out one window, she surveyed the undersea landscape. Then she turned around to the crew, who were half asleep and huddled together like rag dolls. Wait, they were half asleep? That crash must have been really boring, wasn't it? With a sardonic smile, she said, "I have some incredible news for you. You won't believe this, but we have just landed smack in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle." How does she know this? Is it some sort of psychic thing? You know where the Bermuda Triangle is or something? Several members of the beleaguered crew began to snicker, but then they became more serious. "Oh, we haven't used snicker already, have we?" How do you know it's the triangle? Oh, Pierre has the same question I do. Because the shell is resting against a very tall pyramid, and there are ruins of an ancient city all around the craft. What? This is exactly the craziest thing I've ever heard. Oh my god. The Bermuda Triangle is supposed to have a pyramid in it. There is no pyramid in the Bermuda Triangle. You fucking idiots. Simply because yes, but how do you know it's the Bermuda Triangle? Simply because I recognize the general area and I could read some of the markings on the stones. If you look at the ancient glyphs, you can see that they are clearly of an origin which goes far back into time. In fact, gentlemen, I have a shocking statement to make to you. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to say something about this. What the glyphs in the triangle? Is this some sort of source of the triangles of phenomenon, some sort of sorcery or something? And why is this? This is hurting my brain. Not only are we lodged in the center of the Bermuda Triangle, oh, we're in the center now, but we are also surrounded by the ruins of the lost continent of Atlantis. Oh my god. We're in Atlantis! Awesome! We're gonna be greeted by darts? Yeah, it's... The Bermuda... they're going with that guy's theory again. Maxine Asher is going with that guy's theory. I have no idea. I really don't remember whose theory it was that Atlantis was somewhere around Bermuda. But it was definitely a guy. It was not Plato, because Plato theorized that it was just off the shore of Europe. And, oh my god. Well, that's the end of the chapter. And I think I've made this video like 20 minutes long. Oh my god, half an hour. Yeah, I'll stop it now and I'll see how I can splice this video into halves. So, that's the end of chapter 1. And there's definitely more where that came from.